So welcome everyone to SG STEM Talk and Trivia. I think this is our 14th session. And I'm Marcus and...
Hey guys, I'm Canon. How's everybody doing?
Yes, we are your host. And today we are extremely lucky to have with us Dr. Andie Ang, who is the chair of the Raffles Banded Langur Working Group. And she's also president of Jane Goodall Institute, Singapore. So wearing many hats and very active in nature conservation in Singapore. So Andie's going to tell us more about this extremely elusive, rare monkey that's found in Singapore. That's different from the brown one that we tend to usually see. And because they are on the trees most of the time, it presents some challenges to studying them. So she's going to tell us this. She's probably one of the first few people that have employed this method to study wildlife in Singapore, and she'll tell us more about this. So Andie, please.
Thank you so much, Marcus and Kanan, for inviting me. And I'm really excited to share some of the interesting findings and challenges when it comes to tree climbing to monitor the Raffles banded langurs and also other wildlife in Singapore. So hopefully the things that we have learned and that we are sharing today can help you when you are considering tree climbing to monitor wildlife. And before I start, I want to thank the team of tree climbers, which includes Sabrina, Primate, and Natalie. So, the Raffles banded langurs. They are a species of primates that are only found in Singapore and southern parts of Malaysia, only in Johor and Pahang states of Malaysia. In Singapore, there are 67 individuals left, whereas in Malaysia, a rough estimate puts them at about 200, which means that globally, we're looking at a population size of fewer than 300, making them critically endangered. And this species of monkey is active in the day, and it has a predominantly vegetarian diet, feeding on leaves, fruits, and flowers, but occasionally they do take in insects such as caterpillars. And you can see from the photo that the langur, an adult langur, it's mostly black in color with some white stripes around the tummy area and also on the inside of the thighs. Whereas for the infants, when they're born, they're actually mostly white in color. By about 8 to 10 months, the coloration...
Sorry to interrupt you. Would you be able to share your slides?
Oh, am I not sharing?
I think not yet. Yes, super. Now we can see what you're saying.
So just now I was just talking without slides, right? Okay, you can see the slides now, right? All right, so for this species of primate, it is about double the size of a long-tailed macaque, and it can go up to about 7 kilograms. There is no sexual dimorphism in the sense that adult males and adult females are very difficult to be differentiated in the wild. So you have to look really carefully. Because this species is critically endangered and part of an important natural heritage of Singapore and Malaysia, a working group was formed in 2016, which involved various partners in Singapore and Malaysia. So this project is funded by the Wildlife Reserve Singapore Conservation Fund, and we have partners including the National Parks Board, Jane Goodall Institute in Singapore, NUS, NSS, and also partners in Malaysia, plus the IUCN Primate Specialist Group. The three main objectives of this project is to, firstly, protect this species in the wild, which also includes protecting their forested habitats. Second is to gather key information through ongoing studies. So this key data include information on their feeding behavior, distribution, population size, genetic diversity, and so on, so that we can better understand what threats they're facing and how we can tackle those threats. And lastly, we want to ensure that there are necessary resources and commitments for the long-term conservation of this species. So we're not talking about short-term protection or research, but looking into the long term, how can we ensure that there is sufficient funding, manpower, resources, and commitments from various partners. So this is an important collaboration between Singapore and Malaysia. Okay, so why do we want to climb trees? Not only because it's fun, but that most of our work rely a lot on field observations. So we go out to the field to track these elusive primates. And because they're also very rare, it's challenging to find them and collect information just based on field observations. And we also can't be out in the field 24/7. So naturally, we think that if we're able to install camera traps on the trees, we can actually complement our field studies to better understand the langurs and also other wildlife in the habitat. So first of all, you need to go through a tree climbing course in order to be certified to climb trees. And in Singapore, from my understanding, we can actually do it at the NParks Center for Urban Greenery and Ecology. And it's a 4-day, full-day course, including theory and practical. So then for Singaporeans, it's only $70, but for non-Singaporeans, it's actually $700. On top of that, Singaporeans, we can even claim through the skills credit. At the time, last year, when we took the course, Sabrina and I, there's actually 1 instructor and 10 students. So this is our class. And then we went out there to do tree climbing. So after a week, we passed and we are certified. So what's next? We need to prepare the equipment and all the other assessments that are necessary, including approvals and permits. So first of all, looking at equipment, you can see here, some of the things that we need include helmet, really important, harness, climbing rope, carabiners, and all the other accessories. And this set for 1 person costs about $2,000. The most expensive parts would be the harness and the helmet, which is about $500 each. So looking at this, you would think that it is really, really expensive. And you might need to reconsider. But actually, if you were to hire a tree climber to help you climb trees, I understand that it's about $800 for half a day. So if you're thinking of checking your cameras regularly, whether is it once a month, once in a couple of months, and you have a couple of cameras in the forest, it's going to be really, really expensive. So this $2,000 can actually go a long way. In addition to equipment, what are some of the preparations that we do? So first of all, you definitely need to assess the risk because it is a high risk, I would say, activity. Even though you have all the safety precautions in place, you still need to have an assessment to go through before you actually do the tree climbing. And you also have to assess the tree, whether is it safe to climb or not. So there are some there's a checklist where you can use and also get the help from NParks or other certified arborists to help you assess whether the tree is suitable to climb. And in addition, if you're actually climbing in some of our nature reserves and national parks, you would have to get permits and approvals from NParks. Okay, so there are a couple of camera traps, different brands out there. The one that we choose, it's actually from Reconyx, and this is the Hyperfire 2 camera. A set with the Python lock and SD card, and also with the lithium batteries, would cost about 650 Sing dollars. So if you're thinking about, buying like 10 units, that's about 6,500, and it includes shipping fees. So you need to do your calculation first before you actually plan your project. So once you have that done, you have to go out there to climb the tree. Some of the things that we have learned and we are still learning includes position of the cameras when you put on the trees, which trees do you select at which height. So this is an example where we have selected a durian tree, which we know that the langurs usually would visit to feed. But where do we put the camera? So for this example, we selected a location, a spot which is about 10 meters to 12 meters above the ground. The reason being that we have observed, based on our research, that when langurs are traveling, they are usually traveling between 7 to 12 meters above the ground. And also, it's good to select a spot where there are connection from tree to tree, meaning that at this, for example, this durian tree, the first bifurcation, or when the first branch comes out, is about 10 meters above the ground. So you know that animals would be using this spot to get from one tree to the next, and you will increase the chances of actually detecting animal. So some of the trees we can actually manually climb, but there are other trees that we cannot climb. So some of the trees include those that are by the roads, and we will need to deploy cranes and workers to help us, kind of lift us up onto the trees in order to install the cameras. So these are all for safety reasons. So since December 2019, we have actually installed 12 cameras, but there are only three cameras that we can actually manually check. Whereas for the rest of the 9 cameras, they are still out there and probably no longer collecting data because the batteries have either run out or the SD card is full. We can only check the cameras using the cranes at the end of January because due to COVID, we couldn't actually access the cranes and we can only do it at the end of this month. So what I'm sharing here, there are basic, I would say preliminary data that we've collected based on the 3 cameras that we're able to check. So here, these animals, I would say, they are relatively easier for us to recognize. So this on the top, right, it's a colugo, whereas the one below, it's a flying squirrel. But sometimes when you have an animal that's so close to the camera, it's very difficult and challenging to find out what animal it is. But if you actually go through enough images, you would know what species you're looking at. And in this case, it's our dear friend, the long-tailed macaque. Whereas other time, you would have just the animal crossing a corner of your camera, and also in such a fast motion that it was only captured, in one image. And what we notice is that from here, it might be a dark colored individual, but actually it doesn't mean anything in the sense that it can actually be a long-tailed macaque that got too close to the camera such that the image turned out to be a subject that is black in color. So you can't just use color to tell what species it is if it's too close to the camera. And other times it's just, you can't tell what it is. So after a lot of trial and error and patience and playing with the angles and also the sensitivity of the camera, we managed to capture a langur tail. Can you see on the right corner? And again, after more trial and error, it's a longer tail. And finally, we managed to capture the Raffles banded langurs, but somehow it can't be seen because there will be a cluster of leaves or some foliage or branches. And so we know it's this species, but we don't know what is it doing. But of course, again, patience paid off. And we managed to capture some nice footage of the Raffles banded langurs. And sometimes in this instant, we managed to locate a location where the langurs would use in order to cross from one place to another. So it actually helps us to count the number of individuals in this group. And I would say that we're also very fortunate to be able to capture the 3 species of non-human primates in Singapore, which is the slow loris, the macaque, and the banded langur. And this can really help us to better understand the habitat use of different species, the co-occurrence of the different species in the same habitat. And so here I'm just showing you some of the preliminary data based on 3 cameras. You can see that over a period of 1 year, we captured almost 65. So we have 65,000 image, and it would take a long time in order to process those photos because sometimes they are just leaves and nothing, but you can't just scroll through them quickly because there might be animals if you missed it by going through very quickly. And of these images, we managed to identify 10 species of mammals. So here's the list, including the 3 species of non-human primates native to Singapore. And I thought I would like to highlight this Dusky langur, which is non-native to Singapore, native to Malaysia, and we started to observe them since last year. So this is what we saw one day when we were trekking in the forest, our precious camera with the python lock, supposed to be a really strong python lock, on the forest floor. And we're wondering what happened. Did we not tie the camera securely? And fortunately, the SD card was there. So we went back to try to find out who's the culprit. And here we have a series of photos which were really well taken, selfies by the Dusky langur. So I was just investigating the camera and decided that it doesn't belong there. So next, the Dusky langur spent a good 12 minutes to tear down this camera that we actually spent a lot of effort to climb the tree in order to put the camera. And so this is the last footage before the camera fell to its eventual death. And that's $650. Bye-bye. A few weeks later, again, we were trekking the forest and we saw another camera on the floor. And this time, there wasn't even the python lock. It's gone and the camera is in pieces. The SD card wasn't with the camera. And fortunately, William from MParks managed to find the SD card. And guess what we found? So again, we came across this familiar footage. And after comparing photos, we realized that it has always been the smaller sub-adult male, which we named Loki, that's been going around destroying our cameras. And here you can see the bigger male at the, at the other end of the camera, seemingly telling us that it's none of his business. Anyway, so I've reached the end of my presentation. These are, again, just preliminary data that we are sharing. At the end of this month, when we manage to check the other cameras, hopefully we can come back again at a later date to share more data that we have captured through our camera trapping efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Andie. That was an excellent talk. And I did not know that Dusky langurs hated cameras so much. I think they might be onto you. Like Sexchuan said, if the third camera goes right, that's it. You need to go talk to these monkeys. I
thought what's interesting was that they're able to find what is the thing that stood out in the environment that doesn't belong there. And they started to
they don't belong in this environment. They don't
but that's like $1,300.
Yeah, see, the thing. Maybe they're trying to talk to you. They're like, if we trash enough cameras, she will come talk to us. It's a sign. So we've got a couple of questions. So let's see. I was making a lot of funny comments. So we got a couple of questions from Joe, one of my colleagues at ACRES. Shout out to Joe. So Joe's questions are about these hoodlums, the Dusky langurs. So Joe asks, how will the Duskies affect our local langurs? And where do you think they came from? And also, are there any plans for the Duskies? And have there been any interactions between the Duskies and the bandits?
Oh, that's many questions. let me get to them one by one. Thanks so much, Joe, for the questions.
I can repeat the questions as well if you as we go along.
Okay. So I would say that September, I think 2019, that was when they were first observed around the Woodlands area. and we were notified by MParks and ACRES that, there are 3 Dusky langurs. Subsequently, there were only 2 left, so we are not sure what happened to the 3rd one. These 2 that were left, they are both males. One's an adult, one's a sub-adult. And while based on behavior, initially they are actually quite shy, and when people are actually approaching, they would run back to the trees or run away. And also, secondly, these are sub-adult and adult males. We think that they are likely not pet releases. Instead, they are likely wild animals that might have come across from Malaysia, because for Dusky langurs, which are captured for the wildlife trade, usually they are the orange colored infants, the young ones. And based on researchers in Malaysia studying the wildlife trade, they said that the Dusky langur babies would likely not survive to sub-adult or adulthood, such that they will need to be replaced by poaching from the wild again. So the ones that we see here, they are sub-adult adult males. They look quite healthy exteriorly, and they are quite, I would say, shy when humans are approaching. Right now, they're not that shy. So in the beginning, they were. And for langurs, like the Dusky langurs, usually it's the males which are dispersing from their natal, birth group. About June in 2019, so a couple of months before we saw the Dusky langurs in Singapore, in Johor Bahru, there was a forest that the Dusky langurs were, staying in the forest. But our friends in Malaysia noticed that there was clearance of the forest for golf course development, and a group of Dusky langurs were hanging out by a shopping mall near JB. So again, these are all our hypotheses only, that they might have come from that population in JB. Okay, so that's the first question, right? Sorry for the long answer. I think the second question is how it affects our local population and whether there has been interaction with the banded langurs. So yes, we have seen them interacting in the sense that there was one time we saw 9 banded langurs feeding on a saga tree happily, and we were happily collecting data. And 2 Dusky langurs came from nowhere, and the banded langurs just ran off just like that. And so 2 versus 9, 9 lost. But the next day, there was a long-tailed macaque that was on the feeding tree, happily feeding, and the Dusky langurs came, and the macaque chased the Dusky langurs away. So, I would say that I'm very proud of the macaque, was able to stand its ground, protect its feeding resource. Okay, so this was just one example of an interaction that we saw. Doesn't represent all interactions that might have happened. However, we have also noticed that some of the, I would say, the usual territory and the ranging grounds of the banded langurs has shifted a little bit with the Dusky langurs, especially in places like Thomson Nature Park. So the langurs have moved a little bit further in when the Dusky langurs are actually around the edge of the forest. So there's definitely some shifts in terms of habitat use. For resource competition such as food, I would say that at the moment it's not much of a threat because the banded langurs can consume a wide range of food plants. So far, we have identified about 80 species. So in that sense, I would say that we are still monitoring whether there are going to be long-term threats, but right now it's still relatively okay. There are more questions, right?
Yeah, there are a couple more questions here, but thanks for the answers. What about, let's see. So Weebin Lim asked a similar thing. Are they a threat to our local RBL population? Karen wants to know, are you interested in video footage like feeding behavior that have been recorded by public? So
of course,
do citizen science?
We want video, photo, footage. We want poop. So of course, we are not encouraging you to go out there to collect poop because there's a lot of health risks involved if you touch the poop. But only if you saw that the langurs poop, you can call me, email me, whatever. I will go down to collect the poop. So don't touch the poop yourself.
So you guys, you heard it, right? If you see the langur pooping, you know who to find. All right, we'll probably take 2 more questions from me, and then we could move over to Marcus. Kelly wants to know, do you think the langurs, Duskies, have a bad experience with cameras from where they came from? Maybe they heard that the camera adds 10 pounds and they destroyed 2 cameras because that's 20 pounds less for them.
Okay, so assuming if they came from Johor, from my understanding, there is actually probably no arboreal camera trapping project within their habitat, to my understanding, or very limited. So I don't think they have seen camera traps on trees in Malaysia. But my hypothesis is that they might be getting a bit bored, in the sense that, well, there are 2 males, and when males disperse, they're either looking for more food resources or females. And there's definitely no dusky langur females in Singapore for them. And as they go around, within our forested habitats, realizing that they're the only ones left, not just the camera traps, but they have been going around biting into cable wires, playing with the mirrors at the toilets or, by the road, playing with the lampposts. I don't know, but I think they might be just going around releasing stress and energy and destroying things that they see along the way. But it's really important that people do not approach them, feed them, provide this kind of, whether it's oranges, apples, bananas for the animals, because it will make them lose fear of humans and start to approach people. And we really do not want that to happen. So we need to keep them wild.
Okay, excellent. Marcus?
I think we've got one question from Terence regarding what is the status of the slow loris? Notice that you had a picture of a slow loris in the camera trap.
Status, I'm actually not very sure, but I know that there is, I think MParks and WRS might be doing some kind of collaboration to study the slow lorises in Singapore. And from, I think, past researchers' experience, they can be observed in some of our nature reserves. But of course, we as the public cannot actually go out to nature reserves at night. So it requires permits and working with the MParks and WRS in order to go out to find out more about these species.
So thanks, Andie. There is a NParks talk by one of the managers, Tian Jiao, which I have pasted the YouTube video link in the chat box. So if you're interested, find out more about the slow loris and other creatures of the night there.
So that's the next talk, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
So she's not the one who came 30 minutes late?
Okay.
No, Tian Jiao was here long before. She was on time.
Yeah. He was. We will out the next speaker to you. Okay, one last question from my part, and then we will move to the trivia. This is something I'm interested in, because I noticed that while both the banded leaf monkey and the dusky langur, I know it talks about leaf monkeys, but everyone wants to know about the duskies, right? So I know that they are different. I don't know. I know that they both are from different genus, but have there been records, or will there be chances of hybridization, since these both are like males?
So in southern parts of Malaysia, like in Johor and Pahang, the dusky langurs and banded langurs, they are sympatric, so they're found in the same area. So far, we have not found any records of hybridization, or whether there are infants that resulted from the hybridization. And then throughout the interactions here, we have also seen that the banded langurs and dusky langurs are kind of trying not to get too close to each other. I am not that worried that hybridization would happen. We have observed hybridization in the species of the same genus, yes, like the silvered langurs and the dusky langurs. So it's really weird in the sense that the hybrid actually has the mohawk of a silvered langur and the white eye rings of the dusky langur. So it's like, what is this? So yeah, we have not observed that between the different genera. Okay,
that's good. So hopefully they don't start.
Hopefully not.
Yes. mixing up the genome here in Singapore. Okay, that's great. Because I know, I think within some species, they can hybridize within the family itself. Because I think recently there was a case of a proboscis monkey hybridizing with something else, which was like in the same family, a different family or something. It was so far away. I remember telling my friends, it's like a weasel trying to have babies with a walrus or something like that, you know? So yeah. So yes, I was wondering about that as well here. So that is all of my questions. I don't think Marcus has any more. If nothing else, we can go over to the trivia.
Yep.
And but before that, I think we can unmute everyone so everyone can say thank you to Andie.
Yeah, so thank you, Andie. Please join me in unmuting yourself to thank Andie.
Thanks, Andie.
Thanks, Andie.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Andie.
Thank you.
All right, so now we move on to our next segment, which is our trivia.
Yes, let me just share that again.
So we have exciting questions lined up for you tonight. And so everyone's encouraged, though it's not compulsory, to contribute to the trivia pot for the charity. So you can use PayNow or PayPal, and then the winner gets to decide at the end which charity benefits from the trivia pot. And we always post the receipts on our website.
And you guys can form teams if you want. Of course, teams of no more than 3 people, because the questions are not that difficult.
Yep.
I like to think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The would have instructions of the trivia proper. So we'll play, there'll be 4 rounds in total, including a bonus round. And today's theme is FAB. And so if you're interested to take part in the trivia, please head over to tinyurl.com/sgstem-trivia. And there you will find a Google Sheet, and you enter your team name and your selected beneficiary. So we've got 1 team entered now. So I think most people will be entering their details here. I see a lot of people looking at a sheet. So what happens is that there'll be an honor code. So no looking up of the answers while we are asking them. No Googling, no opening of books, no encyclopedias. But if you decide to join a team, you can WhatsApp or communicate within yourselves. At the end, we'll go through the answers, and you take a photo of your answers and send it to us. This is for verification purposes. And of course, we'll say, we'll review your answers and reply to you as well. And that's how it goes. So 2 teams now. I think the more and more team names are coming in. So we'll take this time for people to fill up the Google Sheet. The questions are really easy. So we hope that, or even if they are a bit out of this world, we hope that you learn something from them.
Marcus, out of this world, is that a hint? Are we having questions on space?
We've had questions on space before. Astronomy. I think not today.
Yeah, not today.
Yeah, so I see SSW, the Presbytis femoralis team name, and beneficiary is JGIS. We've got Fishy, whose beneficiary is Comcrop, and a doggy who hasn't entered the beneficiary yet.
Gretel, do you have a team?
Considering.
Fair enough.
I'm working with Kelly. Yes, last week also.
Okay, super.
Fair enough.
Doggy has selected Acres.
Nice.
Right, so more teams come in. Zictron is he still around?
Oh no, he's just left.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm so sad to lose him. Okay, so as more people fill in their team names, you can still put in your team names at the end. So I think we would go ahead with the trivia. Yeah,
we shall. And let's go. Question 1 is on forests of Clementi and Dover, because current events. Question 1. Let me just minimize this. There we go. Nationally threatened owls and the internationally threatened straw-headed bulbul are present in both patches, but at 37.5 hectares, blank is the larger one. So which of these forests is the larger one? A, the Clementi forest, B, Dover forest, C, they both are the same size, and D, neither of them is larger.
We wanted to mess with your brains a little.
Yeah, so are they both the larger ones? Is neither of them the larger?
Yep. So these 2 forests have recently been in the news because people have noticed that they are slated for development, and some nature groups as well as concerned citizens have highlighted that they might be rich in biodiversity and more should be done to protect them. So we are highlighting them here too.
Sinwe wants to know, how can both of them be the larger one? How indeed. All right, so I'm just going to move through. If you guys need me to go back to a question, feel free to shout at me in the comments. Question 2, blank. Secondary forest, abandoned plantation land from the 20s to the 40s. Clementine forest, Dover forest is the same, both neither. Secondary regrowth forests or forests on abandoned plantation land from the 20s to the 40s.
Is it just me or did the question not change?
The screen froze. All right.
Okay, can.
Yeah. The question has changed, right? I didn't, yeah? Okay. I have very poor internet connection, you know, like I live in 2021, my internet lives in like dial-up, so yeah.
Yeah, both Kanan and I live in the hoodlums of Serangoon.
The mangroves of Serangoon. We have to fight tigers every day to work. Moving on, question 3. A member of parliament recently filed a motion for debate in a bid to preserve blank. Was this a motion to preserve the forest, both of them, or neither of them? As you can see, the options are all the same, but are the answers the same? That is the real question.
Yep, and with any parliament pun, I would always say file a motion, not pass motion. That joke. So we're wondering if when this motion would be heard or debated. Oh, the background doesn't give a hint as to what the answer is.
Yeah, because the previous one, the background, of course, I wanted to show the forest to people who are not like, maybe they've seen the forest. So the previous one was one of the forest, the other one is the forest. I can't remember which one is which now.
Yeah, there.
Yeah. I assume the previous one was the Dover forest because of the MRT station, but I could be wrong. So yeah.
Yep. Don't share your answers on here.
Yeah. Or is one thing a plant that we have planted to lead us astray? Yeah. Okay. If you're playing the quiz for the first time, keep your answers self and stuff. Like you do not even like a private message to Marcus or myself as well. You can email it later.
Yeah, write it down on a piece of paper, or you could type it in your phone somewhere and then send it to us later.
Yeah, but if you want to, lead people astray, go ahead. Moving on.
Yeah.
Does someone need help? Is someone talking? No? All right. Second round is Andie. So these are questions from our speaker, Andie. And question 1. How many Raffles banded langurs are left in Singapore? How many Raffles banded langurs are left in Singapore?
Andie has the RBL working group has great team members producing really very nice art.
Mm-hmm.
And this is by QIU. Yeah, looks great.
By Jia Hui, she was our intern.
Yeah,
nice. I assume these kind of like monkeys that can disappear into their parents make things harder for you when you're counting them.
So we're looking at like 2 tails from the branch, one a long tail, one a short tail. So we know that there's like a baby there.
So that's the strength.
So the baby has not entirely mastered the art of disappearing.
Yeah.
Here we have a picture by Andie over here. The fur color of a newborn Raffles banded langur infant is mostly what? What is the fur color of a newborn RBL infant?
Rainbow.
Yeah.
That will make the babies really vulnerable. But I think that's how the leaf monkeys work, right? They've got babies that look very bright, usually.
I think so for banded langurs, even though
Don't give the answer away. Don't give the answer away. Just saying. Don't let slip.
shall not. Okay, never mind. Good one there.
This the answers are reviewed. Yeah.
Just in case, because there's always a chance you could slip up. Don't do that, Andy. Sidway asked, what does mostly mean? More than 50%. I guess you could say, what is a predominant color? Because it might not be like 100% of color A. So it could be predominantly color A. So yeah, predominant. Like when you look at the monkey, you'd be like, monkey is color X. So yeah. Moving on. When was the Raffles Banded Langur Working Group formed? When was the Raffles Banded Langur Working Group formed?
It's on one of the slides.
Yeah, all of Andy's questions were mentioned in the slide, so let's hope you're listening.
So what is this monkey doing?
It's doing nothing. Yeah.
He is, as the kids this day would say, vibing.
I've seen squirrels do this and leopards do this as well. So yeah, this is the universal lepak posture.
I do that too.
Yeah, leopards do that too. And the last one is bread. The last topic is bread. So let's go. As I said before, if you guys need me to go back to the question, just shout to me in the comments, because sometimes I may go too fast. If I walked into a bakery and asked for a occluplanid, what am I wanting? If I walk into a bakery and I want a occluplanid, what do I want? Occluplanid. Yeah, it's quite a mouthful to say.
What could possibly possess palps and oral hooks, oral grooves in a bakery? You wonder.
Well, I hope it's not getting into the bread. That's all I'm saying. And question 2. Before what was invented, people used to use soft breadcrumbs in its place. Before what was invented, people used to use soft breadcrumbs in its place. Was it A, a cotton gauze, B, an eraser or a rubber, C, wax, D, facial scrub?
Personally, I can see myself using all 4. Bread as all 4.
Yeah.
I want you to upload a video doing that, man.
And Marcus, next one, while we are doing the first few minutes, waiting for people to stream in, you can show us using all these things. But I suppose like a good mantle, that's how you pronounce it, right, will be very good for cotton gauze because they're so absorbent. Yeah. So you get shot in the wall, right? Just stuff it with like mantle and you're like ready to go.
And because they're baked at high temperature, you would assume that they are mostly like sterile.
Yeah.
Splice your wound, cauterize it too.
And since they're like very stretchy, you could probably like use them as wax as well.
Yeah.
Both for burning and for sealing lettuce.
Yeah, and then some of the bread are really rough. I suppose it's good exfoliation.
Yeah.
Sourdough.
That's the trick, right? The answer is all of them. Question 3. Just like the Hawaiian pizza, Hawaiian bread is not from Hawaii. Which European country's immigrants introduced it to the island state? A, France, B, Spain, C, Portugal, D, Italy. Just like Hawaiian pizza, Hawaiian bread is not from Hawaii. Which European country's immigrants introduced it to the island state? And while you guys are thinking, fun fact for you, Hawaiian pizza is actually Canadian.
So Canadian first decided to put pineapples on pizza.
Yeah, man. I'm surprised they didn't put maple syrup on it, but yeah.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah.
This photo is giving me trypophobia.
Oh, okay.
Sarkar says the original sin.
Yeah, man. It's sinned before it was cool. Okay, we'll be moving to the answers now. For people who are playing for the first time, just self-mark your answers and then email them to us later. Don't email them to us now, okay? Because sometimes you may want to contest some of the answers, especially if it's like questions by the speaker. So Andie is here to resolve all disputes. So the larger one is Clementi Forest at 37.5 hectares. Clementi Forest is the larger of the two disputed lands now.
Yep. So if you're interested, you can check out the paper by Neil et al., Nature in Singapore, where Louis Neil, one of the botanists, went to sample the plots in Clementi Forest.
Question 2, both of them are secondary regrowths from plantation land from the 20s through 40s. The answer is C, both of them. And 3, the Dover forest has been filed for in a motion to be preserved by MP Christopher D'Souza. I think it's MP for Holland, GRC, I think. Holland Village, GRC, I think. So yeah. So the answer is Dover Forest for B. And here's for Andie's questions. 67 at last count, I think sometime last year, they had 67 Raffles banded langurs here in Singapore, including a baby. And a bit of a pixelated image because I had to like blow it up, but the fur color of a newborn RBL is predominantly white. It is predominantly white. And the RBL working group was formed in 2016. 2016 was when the group was first formed. Okay, I don't see any contests. And let's move on to bread. Oh, I see. And a Breaktab is the other name for an occluplanid. The Breaktab is another name for an occluplanid. And if you guys Google up this term, right, you'll find researchers who are trying to do the morphology, not the taxonomy of the braid. And this is a morphology-based taxonomy, Sankar, wherever you are, because I know it really gets your gears grinding. Morphology-based taxonomy, so yeah. And yeah, there we go. I managed to bring him out. Question 2, eraser or rubber. Before the eraser or rubber was invented, people used to use breadcrumbs in its place. So you could have a snack while fixing your mistakes. And Portugal was where the Portuguese bread came from. No, the Hawaiian bread came from. To Hawaii, Portugal is the forerunners. Okay. So tally up your points, and we'll be moving on to the bonus round.
Yes. Yes, I'll explain the bonus round. So please, I think most of you have already put up your answers on the Google Sheet. We need Bintang the tapir to fill up your beneficiary as well while you're at it. And then we'll total bonus equals to sum this. All right, so how does the wager work? So we are now at the bonus round, and so you tally and wager your points. So what happens is that you gain the number of points you wager if you are correct. So let's say you get full marks for all 3 rounds, you have 9 points, right? So if you wager all your points and you get the bonus point correct, bonus question correct, you get 18 points, right? 9 plus 9. But you wager all your points, you lose the number of points if you are wrong. So you end up with 0 points if you wager all your points, right? So this is a game theory. You have to decide how best you want to play and whether you've been paying attention to the talk. And I see all teams have that one. There are 5 teams and all teams have already put on their wager. Oh, excellent. So I think we can go on and review.
Yep. Also, just want to say, right, Like I say this every time, you can only wager the points you have. Please don't come and wager 100 points and expect 100 points back in return. This is the PSA. And here we go. How much does it cost to sign up for the CUGE tree climbing course? How much does it cost to sign up for the huge tree climbing course? Just put your answers, just put what you know.
I think this is someone who hasn't been learning the tree climbing course the right way.
Yeah, you can see Bagheera being a very patient instructor there.
Well, that's how a pangolin climbs a tree, apparently.
Yeah.
One climb a tree like that, sticks its butt up, caterpillar.
Yeah. Okay, so how much does it cost to sign up for the huge tree climbing course?
So Liz asked for locals. Well, we hope you. There is two tiers for this. There is for locals and for Singaporeans and non-Singaporeans. So the full answer would have
both of them.
Yeah, for both.
Yeah. You can't have it the easy way for the bonus question where you can wager points. Okay, so moving on. Bonus round. Marcus, have people put their points in and everything?
Yes, they have.
Okay, so I will reveal the answers. And to sign up for a huge tree climbing course for Singaporeans, it's $70, and for non-Singaporeans, it is $700, a 10 times increase. $70 and $700. We will not accept one or the other answer. We expect both of them. Both correct answers. So yeah, $70 to $700. So please tally up your scores. And
tally up the scores, take a photo of your answer if you've written it down, or email it to us if you've typed it out somewhere. The email address is on the screen. So everyone can send it in. And I see that a lot of people have been paying attention. Wow.
Also, while you guys are submitting, just want to let you know, right? So you will send the email to us. Marcus and I will look through and they will let you guys know who's the official winner. But for now, Marcus will probably announce the unofficial winner from the trivia sheet. But so far, we've never had to change our official and unofficial answers. It's always been the same. So yeah.
Yep, everyone is honest.
Yeah, just to make sure that, we can do our math. So yeah, so submit them. And if you still got any coins jangling around, feel free to throw them in the pot.
Yep. So waiting for Doggy. Was it Doggy or Dodgy? Doggy to fill in the grand total. Who's Doggy? Dodgy? Anyone?
We'll see if anyone owns up. But Marcus, how are the scores looking? Do we have a tie? Do you have a clear winner?
We have a clear winner and potentially a three-way tie if Doggy fills up, got the bonus correct. If not, then we have a two-way tie.
Oh, for first place?
No, for second place.
Ah, for second place. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so unofficially, our winner is Bintang the Tapir, whose beneficiary is WRSCF with a grand total of 12 points.
I see Gretel waving at the camera.
All right, yep. And then potentially, so we have got a two-way tie for second place, which is Fishy and Pango, 8 points. So
nice.
Yeah. I think I need to stop, but not fun already.
we can't even nerve you. We've taken away your friends. We've let you play alone. It's impossible. That's it. You can't team up with Kelly anymore too. So we just got to keep making things harder.
The first time I won.
Yay, Kelly. So Liz is asking, we can go back to the slide with the email details, please. Wow, super. Okay, I'll just type it out So now we have, we're going to review who the next SG STEM speaker is.
Oh yeah, and I think Andy had some questions for the next SG STEM speaker. So I hope we are ready, Shankar.
Yep.
Shankar, why were you late?
Sorry?
Why were you late?
Why was I late? I was caught in the rain on the way back home.
Okay.
Is that acceptable, Joe?
Let me think about it.
Yeah, so I think
Excellent. We'll let Shankar do his thing. Yeah.
Okay, wait, let me start video. One sec. Okay, can you see me?
Do your own pitch. My internet is slow, but yeah, I think.
Okay, my internet's a little slow, I think. Ayo.
Okay.
So what are you going to tell us in the next SG STEM?
Hi. Okay, I wasn't sure if the screen could be seen. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Kanan, and thanks, Marcus. I'm quite excited for the next SG STEM. I'll be talking about my work with the Herpetological Society of Singapore. Herpetology, of course, being the study of reptiles and amphibians. I think especially because reptiles and amphibians are pretty unappreciated creatures. Many people are scared of large snakes, snakes in general. So I hope to, in the next talk, kind of dispel a few of these fears, as well as to discuss how we as ordinary people can help reptiles and amphibians thrive in urban Singapore. Yeah.
All right, that is awesome. You guys heard it from the man himself, who's going to be our next speaker on the 4th of February. And the link is tinyurl.com/sgstem20210204. And I think the link is live now, Marcus.
Should be.
Yep, so you guys can go start signing up for the next talk, which is happening in 2 weeks from now. Thanks, Anka, for doing your own pitch.
Thank you for having me.
And no worries, looking forward to the talk. And that brings us to an end of this session. Thanks everyone for coming down. And thank you, Andie, for the awesome talk and the very funny pictures. I guess you'll have to let us know as a follow-up on whether or not you find these pesky Dusky langurs who've been like manhandling your camera.
Okay, thanks so much for having me. It was really fun.
Thanks, Andie, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Bye.